Okay, just trying to make sure this is on record. Hello, hello. This is my third time trying to videotape myself. Yikes. For those of you who don't know me, this is Marcie with Marcie Creates. We are going to be kicking off a 12-part color theory series called Beading with Color Confidence. This is all about color, and we're going to be starting off with this first video about the color wheel. Here it is. And this is a circular map of color and color relationships. And it is very helpful when you're trying to come up with a palette or any kind of design. It doesn't have to be jewelry, it could be anything from interior design to painting, if any of you paint, or you're trying to put an outfit together even. But I love color and I love exploring color. And so the purpose of this series is to give you more confidence picking colors and understanding the color relationships. So this first video is about the color wheel. We're going to go over the different aspects of it. We will go more in depth, of course, as the series goes on about even more different nuances and things that you can do. This first couple of projects, one is very simple and one is a little bit challenging, but I encourage you to try the challenging one if you are game. And make sure that you've joined Marcie Creates over on Facebook, because I'm going to have templates and things that you'll be able to print off to help you with this project. And I will be including files throughout the series. I do have another series of color theory videos in a playlist in my YouTube channel. So if you want to watch even more color, please go ahead and watch those. That's great. You'll get even more info, hopefully inspiration. And what I'm hoping with this series is that you will be confident with color. You will try some new things with color. It's all about experimentation, but understanding how the colors relate to each other so that you can create a piece of jewelry with the feeling that you want it to have. If you want it to be serene and kind of romantic, if you want it to be dynamic and exciting, all of these things can be achieved through color. So that is my goal. And uh, I I'm excited to do this. So I know a lot of you have been asking. So here it is. Here we go. So every Sunday there'll be a new video for the next 12 weeks. And please make sure that you do join Marcie Creates and click that notification bell. I just want to say really quickly, thank you to those of you who've reached out about Cha Cha. We really miss her. And that was a tough one. But for those of you who don't know, we lost my dachshund of 17 years a week and a half ago. It's been pretty tough. Um, but your kind words and the sweet things that you said really have helped. And I just keep reminding myself that we had 17 amazing years with this dog, and she was loved and we loved her. So I just want to say a heartfelt thank you for those of you who said prayers and sent condolences. I really appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. So I'm dedicating this series to Cha Cha, my sweet Doxy, or as I used to call her, Cha Cha Garbanzo Bean. Anyway, I hope that you'll like this video. I think you will. Uh, I've put a lot of work into this series, so I'm very excited. So away we go with color. Yay! All right. So color theory 101. That's going to help you with your confidence in beadwork. That's the name of this series, Beading with Color Confidence. And the first step to that is understanding the color wheel. and what it is and how to use it. So this first installment is going to be going over the color wheel, and then we're going to have a fun project. We're going to create our own beaded color wheel, and I'm going to show you a very simple version for those of you that are beginners and haven't done a lot of wire wrapping. And then we're going to have a little bit more advanced project for those of you who want something a little challenging. So let's talk about the color wheel. So I have pulled beads from my stash that are representative of all aspects of the 12 colors in the color wheel. And we're going to go over each segment. But before we do that, I just want to explain what the color wheel is. So the color wheel is a circle that shows how colors are related to each other. So it begins with the three primary colors, that is red, blue, and yellow. And I realize there's a glare on this. I have another handout I'm going to be using in a minute. But red, yellow, and blue are the primary colors. You cannot make these colors by mixing colors. So that's why they are considered the primary colors. Think of them as the building block for all the other colors we're going to be discussing. So when you mix with the primary colors, you get what are called secondary colors. So red and yellow make orange. Yellow and red make orange. And on the color wheel, you'll notice the orange is right in the center between the red and the yellow. I do recommend getting a color wheel. I will put a link in my description. I bought this one on Amazon. It is two-sided, and we will go over this more on all the different aspects of it. But it does give you the definitions right here of the primary colors and the secondary colors. So I really like this. Same thing on secondary colors, getting back to that. Yellow and blue make green. So green is a secondary color. Blue and red make violet. So violet is a secondary color. So you've got primary colors, red, yellow, blue. And when you mix any primary, you get the secondary colors. So those are going to be equidistant between the primary colors. So red and yellow, right in the center is orange. Yellow and blue, right in the center is green. Blue and red, right in the center is violet. So those are the secondary colors. Now, tertiary colors are when you combine a primary color with a secondary color. And there are 6 of those. So red and orange, red is the primary, orange is the secondary. You get a tertiary color called red-orange. If you mix the orange and the yellow, orange is the secondary, yellow is the primary, you get yellow-orange. Yellow is a primary, green is a secondary. If you mix those, you get yellow-green. Green is a secondary, blue is a primary, blue-green, or a lot of people call it teal or turquoise. If you combine blue, which is a primary, and violet, which is a secondary, you get blue-violet. And if you mix violet, which is a secondary, and red, which is a primary, you get red-violet. So those are all the colors on the color wheel. And so just in summation, you have 3 primary colors, red, yellow, blue. When you mix those, you get 3 more colors that are secondary colors, which is orange, green, and violet. And then if you mix a primary with a secondary, there are 6 tertiary colors. So as you can see, let me just lift this for a moment. I have organized some beads. I went through my stash, and this is a fun thing to do. Organizing your beads by the color wheel is helpful, and I did this for visual effects. You could see maybe how to organize these. Now, obviously, you don't have to organize them this exact way, but I find that very helpful. And it'll make you more confident because you'll know where the colors are in the color wheel if you're working on a custom palette, which we'll also talk about later on in the series. So right now I'm just introducing you to the color wheel and getting you familiar with those terms so that going forward in future videos, we will go more into combining the colors. But for the purposes of this first one, Beading 101, the color wheel, I just wanted to provide you with some tools. So there will be some handouts or some things you can print off. Please join Marcie Creates. I'm going to have all of these things in the files. Just look under files in my group and you'll be able to print off all this information. If you want to buy a color wheel of your own, then I have a link for this from Amazon as well. So let me move this because I know there's a lot of glare. And let me just hang on. I printed out what's going to be included in the files on my Facebook, Marcie Creates. So this shows you your primary, red, yellow, and blue. And there's a little bit of information here. They cannot be made by mixing other colors. So that's part one of your color wheel. And then primary and secondary colors, these are helpful to print out if you're trying to organize your stash. And I wanted you to have this right away. So that way you don't have to wait on Amazon. I know it doesn't take that long to get, but I thought, why not have something you could print out? So this is primary and secondary colors. So we have what plus what equals what on here. So those are the secondary and the primary colors on that page. And then the last page is the full color wheel. So you could even cut this out if you want and use it as a little template in your bead room, your bead stash, organizing your beads. I do organize my beads by color. Some I separate by type and then by color. But I find that's really helpful when I'm working on a palette. And I know some of you have been watching the channel for a while, see my color palette challenges, and that's kind of how I find my beads. I just print out that paper and I go through my stash and I see what matches. But this is a really nice printable, so I hope that you'll take advantage of that. And trying to think if there's something else. Oh, well, I'll get to that in a minute because I'm going to have some other templates for the projects that we're going to be working on. And one other thing I wanted to point out is warm versus cool colors. So let me get back to sorry, I've got papers everywhere. This is also my office for my day job. So, all right, I'm turning this over. So oops. Oh, and this color wheel is two-sided. We're going to get into more on that side in another video. But so the warm colors go from red, violet to yellow. So if you literally split this in half, do I have a piece of paper let me just use one of these. So warm colors, red, violet, red, red, orange, orange, yellow, orange, and yellow. Those are the warm side of the color wheel. Then we go to the cool side and we've got violet, blue, blue, green, and yellow, green. So that's another reason why I like having a color wheel like this. It does tell you the warm versus the cool colors, which can be very helpful. Again, we will be going more into depth with that later. So this is the introduction to the color wheel. Now, what I'm going to do is I have this 12 well palette here, and I'm going to pull some beads in the color wheel order, and then we're going to start on our project. We are going to be using some quick links. I do have the links from Amazon to buy these. You can also buy them on the Beadalon website. So we're going to be making a simple color wheel first, and then we're going to do something a little more complex with some wire wrapping. So yeah, it's going to be exciting. I can't wait to show you how to do this. Okay, so I've gotten some beads pulled for the Color to Theory, not the Color Theory, sorry. I totally lost my train of thought. The color wheel project we're going to do. And that template I showed you earlier, I went ahead and cut out the template and I put it in the center of this palette. This palette has enough, it has 12 sections. So I will link this in the description. I bought it on Amazon. It's perfect for this project because you can organize your beads and they will fit on your bead mat. So I just picked a variety of different types of beads and these the colorways that are on the color wheel. So we have red, orange, orange, yellow, orange, yellow, yellow, green, green, blue, green, blue, blue, violet, violet, and red violet, otherwise known as fuchsia. So they're organized so that I can just pick up beads as I work my project. So the project, we're going to do the simple color wheel first. It's very simple. You're going to need some Beadalon quick links. They come in a package of 18. This is the 25 millimeter size. I will have a link to the Amazon link that I bought these on. They are solid. That's what I wanted to use these for. If you don't have these, you can make your own wire with, I would use 18 gauge wire piece, but these are just so nice to do wire wrapping on. So that is why, and they're not soldered. I mean, they're soldered. They're not, there's no, it's not going to come apart basically. And then for the more challenging project, which I'm going to show in a little bit, you will need the oval rings. These are 19 by 41 millimeter. And I will also have a link to these. These are also soldered, so they're not going to come apart either. And you get 14 pieces. I think these are like $7 or $8 each. But you'll see when you get the link. So I'm just going to work with the 25 millimeter. This is going to be the simple bead wheel, color wheel. And literally what we're going to do is we're going to wire wrap around this every color from the color wheel. So let me slide this to the side. You're going to take your, excuse me, you're going to take your link and you just want to lay out the beads that you want to add. So you have to kind of keep in mind sizes. You can do different sizes. I would recommend doing different sizes and different shapes for interest. So I am just going to lay these out. Let's see, maybe I want to do a pearl here. Oh, let's do a square bead. That'll be our red orange. Here, let's do a yellow fire polish. I believe that's a 5 millimeter, might be a 6 millimeter. And maybe a rectangular bead. I've got this pretty check bead with the little details. And maybe we'll do, so for teal, maybe we'll grab I wonder if I have something bigger, just a little bigger. Let's do a melon bead. It's little. And we can do another fire polish in, oh, that's not a fire polish, it's a rondelle, but that's fine. And let's do a bicone for the, just move these. We'll space them out. It's going to take a little bit of eyeballing, but I think you're getting the idea of what I'm talking about. I saw something in here. Oh, let's see. Okay, let's do this round bead. It's kind of a lighter color. Let's go with this one. It's darker. Don't like that either. Oh, I got all different kinds in here. So this might read too dark. Yeah, that's pretty dark. All right, we'll stick with this. So violet, red violet. Let's do a little. That's kind of fun. And then our red. So, oh, did that fall out? No, that's my red orange. I think I want a brighter orange. Let's grab a fire polish. So yeah, just when you get a collection of beads that you seem to think you like, then you can kind of visualize them. And I think what I'm going to do, since you get several, you get 14 links, I think is what I said. Oh no, I'm sorry, 18 in the round. I'm just going to keep that there, and I'm just going to grab another link. And that way I can kind of gauge how I want to get these wrapped. And you could make a pendant out of this. I think that would be really cool. You could also maybe put them on the inside, but I think that's a little more difficult, and I think this is easier to go this way. Also, if this doesn't appeal to you, you could also take some 20 gauge wire and just string these and wrap it around something round and make a loop at the top, and you could do a pendant that way. But for the purposes of this video, we're going to wire wrap on the outside. So you're going to want some 26 gauge wire, and it can be kind of dicey. You don't want to get such a long piece that you can't manage it. So I wouldn't do more than 10 or 12 inches. And you're just going to cut this. All right. And be careful with the 26 gauge. It can snap, but you do want to straighten it ever so slightly, like once maybe. Okay, maybe twice. No more than twice. Just like that. And what we're going to do is we're going to attach this to our ring first. So I would say grab a couple of inches, okay, and slide it under there. And you're going to just do some really simple wraps just around this form. I would say at least 4, maybe even 5 times, okay? Leave a tail. You can weave that in later. So now you can take, if you feel like it's not neat enough, which just take your time. Just take your time with this, but you can use your bent nose pliers or whatever pliers you have, and you can make those a little more uniform and make that little spot that looks tight. And then you're just going to start adding your beads. So let's add our red bead. And we're just gonna wire wrap that to the form. And however you want to orient this, I mean, if you want to orient it more flat, you can do that. More of the wire's going to show. So I think I'm going to try to see if I can get it to stand up a little more like that. And each of these beads is a different um, shape. So you'll have to kind of improvise unless if you want to do all the same bead, if you have, good for you if you have like bicones or fire polish all in these colors. I don't, so I have to use a variety. But this is a great way too to use your bead soup. Like maybe you have leftover beads from a project. You don't know, you have a one-off and you're not sure what to do with it. This is great for that. So I'm just eyeballing this, and I think four wraps is probably going to be enough. Let's see. Let's grab we're going to know in a minute. You can always, the nice thing is you can kind of scooch these around to make them more even. So don't be worried. Just try to get as close as you can. Whoops. Also, your beads are going to go flying. I'm just warning you. And that always happens to me. So, it happens to the best of us. This actually is a carnelian bead, and I thought it was the perfect red orange color. I had trouble finding red orange beads, to be honest. It's just not a bead I buy very much of, but I did go through some mystery bead boxes from Jesse James Beads, and of course some Sam's bead boxes. Oh, and you always want to kind of come in and kind of push your coils together. So I'm going to do 4 wraps, I think, between each bead, and we'll see how that works. So just get it as close as you can. You can also push it with your thumbnail or your finger. And my thumbnail broke the other day, so it's kind of short now. So the tools come in handy. And you're just going to keep going around the circle like this and adding your beads. So let's add our orange. If you remember, this is one of our secondary colors. This is made by mixing red and yellow. 2 primaries equal a secondary color. Okay. I think you get the idea. I'm going to do a couple more beads, and then I'm going to finish this off camera so I can show you the more advanced project. This is our orange yellow. Beautiful fall color. A lot of leaves turn this color in the fall, which is so gorgeous. And 4. Scooch them together. Let's add our yellow. This will be the last bead I do on camera, just for the sake of time, but I think you get the idea. And feel free to wire wrap this however you want. If you want to just string it like a pendant, go for it. You could do a bracelet or earrings like this. I thought it would be fun to do these, like some really long shoulder duster earrings. That may be a bonus project. Maybe I'll do a bonus video the middle of the week. All right. So as you can see, we've got just kind of a fun look They make a fun little pendant. So I'm going to go off camera and add the rest of these, and then if there's spacing issues, I will show you how I fix those. And it's just a little bit of trial and error, but I think it's going to be really cute when it's finished. So stay tuned for the finished product. Okay, so I've almost got to the end of this, and we have this wire left over. Now I almost ran out of wire here, so if that happens to you, so I managed to get about 2 wraps, um, as you can see, past this bead. I did switch out some beads to make sure I had room on here, so I went with some smaller beads towards the end. But we have this tail left over, so what we're going to do is we're going to continue to wrap this way. It is going to create a few more wraps, but this would be the good area to attach a bail or a jump ring. You can make your own bail if you know how to do that. But you just want to close up whatever little gaps there are in your quick link. And then you want to cut the wire on the inside of the ring. That way it doesn't snag on anything. So that's what I'm going to do now. And I'm just going on the inside. And then what you can do, just to make doubly sure nothing's sticking out, there's still something sticking out, is you can just press on the inside. These quick links are great because they have a little bit of a flat edge on the inside. So you can tamp this down just like that. And you can attach a bail right there. You could make one, but this is what we have. So that's the simple color wheel. Now you can see these are not evenly spaced, so you can move these gently. I would be very gentle with it, but you can move things around. You know, your wire is it's pliable, but it's the 26 gauge, so you want to make sure that you're not pressing too hard, but you can move things around a bit. You could even put something in between here and attach it in between these, somewhere, uh, like crystal. Let me see if I've got something. This may not be the right color, but you could put a bead in the center there. That would be really pretty. Maybe a clear bead. So that's an idea. If you want to fill in the center, you could do a little wire work and attach it in the middle here as well. But this is the simple version of the beaded color wheel. You could do 2 of these and make earrings. That would be very cute as well. So we've got our little prototype for our beaded color wheel, the simple version. Now we're going to go to something a little more complicated, but I think it's pretty cool. So for those of you who want to do something advanced, it's not super hard. I mean, I think anyone could do it, but if you're new to wire working, this might be just your speed. But if you do this and you decide you want to move on to something a little more extra, I'm going to put this right here just so you can kind of see. So in the handouts I'm going to have that you can print off for the Facebook group, and please join so you can get these. Marcie Creates. I have templates. So I have a 2-inch color wheel template that you can print off. I will have a 4-inch template and a 6-inch template. I'm going to be working with the 6-inch template today for our next project. Let me move the beads just slightly. And we're going to be using both of these quick links in this project. So let me move this over. And I wrote on this, and I basically just took this template that I cut out, which will also be in the handouts, and I just laid it over this, and I labeled this. Okay, maybe I'll label it for you, let me know in the comments if you want this already labeled for you. I can do that for you. And then also I put, whether it was a primary color, I put a P, secondary color is an S, and the tertiary color is a T. So I kind of did that around the middle here. And we're going to use this template to do our next project. So this is going to be a more intricate color wheel, which I think is going to be really cool. And I actually started it just so, for purposes of the video not being so long, but I also can show you how to add wire because you are going to run out of wire and you're going to have to add wire. So again, we're going to be using the 26 gauge wire. And let me just show you what I have here. So we're basically going to make a flower, and don't worry about these moving. They are going to move until we do the second step, but you're going to wire wrap to this round piece. So the round 25 millimeter, you're going to take these ovals and you're going to attach them, and you're going to attach 6. So the reason I have this labeled is because we're going to make the petals for the primary and the secondary colors only. And then what we're going to do is we're going to add extra petals for the tertiary colors. And this is going to be the frame for our beaded color wheel. So as you can see, I started already wrapping, and I got to the end of my my third petal. And so there's quite a bit of wire that you have to wrap. I'm just scooching this along. I cut this in the inside like I did the other piece, and we're going to continue adding petals. So I'm going to add a few petals so that you can see how it's done, and also how to add wire. And these are going to move around, like I said. Don't worry about it. Just try to get them spaced on your template so that they're as even as you possibly can get them. So I'm going to pull some more of the 26 gauge wire. And like I said before, I don't think you should do more than 12 inches unless you're comfortable. Do what's comfortable for you. And we're going to wire wrap these ovals to this round. And so, again, like we did with the simpler one, kind of straighten it out a little. We are going to do about 2 inches and just come close to where your wire wrapping stopped. And you just want to anchor this. You are going to leave a little bit of a tail if you want. I would just for, just for the sake of knowing where you started. And that's a little cattywampus. I'm trying to do this on camera, so I usually get really close to my pieces, but I can't do that on camera. So just kind of scooch that, and then you're ready to see where you are. Now I think I'm going to have to wrap more because, let's see. So this is where the template comes in handy, because I need to get to another primary. You're going to skip over the T, the tertiary. So we have to wire wrap to about here, or maybe a little less. And then we're going to add our other petal. So all I'm going to do right now is just continue wrapping this. And then I periodically, I do about 5 wraps, and then I take my pliers and I kind of push the pieces together. Try not to get kinks in your wire. Just kind of push it through like this. It is going to catch. If for some reason your wire snaps which can happen because as you're playing with it, your hand has warmth and it will warm the wire. It could snap. You can always add, just like I showed you. So don't be upset if that happens to you, but do a bunch of wraps and then push them together just like that. And you're just going to keep going, and you're going to periodically check to see on the spacing. Let me push that piece out of the way. So we're just going to keep going here. And then when I added the petals, I did about five wraps. So I'll show you that. Push those together. All right. Oh, I was going this way. Would help if I knew where I was going. Okay. So I'm getting close to the P, which is the primary. So I am probably going to do just a few more wraps. If you notice on these links, they're a little bit tapered here. So there will be a little bit of wire that will go underneath that round piece. So that's kind of where I want to be with this wire. So let me do about 2 more of these and then we'll see how it looks. Okay. Then we're going to scooch. Technical term, scooch. Okay. And let's see. So here's our P. So I think we're good. So when you attach this, you're going to just hold it here with your thumb and your forefinger, and you're going to push your wire through this way. And it's going to be a little loosey-goosey at first, but try to get it as tight as you can. And then I'm pushing the wire through the round piece. Let's see if I can do this without tangling this. That's the thing about 26 gauge wire. It's real fiddly. So just give yourself, be patient with yourself. And if you do have gaps, we can spread these out. I have a little bump right here that bugs me, so I may do that. It's just be patient with yourself. It will happen. If you have to take something out and start over, then that's okay. I think it'll be worth it in the end. So I have done 4 wraps. I'm going to do one more and one more. Okay. And they're kind of loosey-goosey. Let's push this. And then you're just going to continue just wrapping around the round piece. And you are going to slide under this little section right here for the first couple of wraps. So it looks like one continuous piece, kind of, sort of. And this is where you do the long section. And then once you get a few wraps through there, tighten these up. Okay, let me check and see how this is. And again, these are going to move around. You just want primary, secondary, primary, secondary. So we have to do another secondary and another primary. So we're going to be doing 6 petals basically on this template. And these will be less fiddly the more you work with it. So things are going to move around until we get further on into the project. All right, so I think you've seen how to attach the petals. So I'm going to do the rest off camera just for the sake of not making this video, 4 hours long. I'm going to add the other 2 petals, and then we're going to add our tertiary petals. And I'll show you on one of those how to do that. And then we're going to add beads. So stay tuned. Okay, so I've started adding the tertiary color petals, and I'm just going to hold this up. You can see that I wrapped on either side of this petal, and I found this to work. I took a Sharpie and I held this down on the template, and then I wire wrapped where right over where the Sharpie is. I use like a fine tip Sharpie, and that seemed to work. So then what you're going to do is going to take just about like a 6-inch piece of the 26 gauge wire, 6 or 7 inches, whatever you're comfortable working with. But you're going to cut 2 of these. And it turned out to be about 10 wraps on each side. So I'm going to do one on camera. And then, excuse me, I'm having technical difficulties. I have a touch light and I just put my my tool and it bumped it. So, you don't have to be exact with the wire, but just, 6, 7 inches. Cut 2 of them. And you're going to wrap one side and then the other. So how I did this is, hope I could do this on camera. I kind of had to hold it close to me, but once you've marked, and again, this is not going to be, this is not precision work here, but just do the best you can. You just want to put your piece kind of in between these 2 pieces and try to line up the marks. And again, these slide around, so just try to get it as close to the point as you can. And then I started on one side and then I did the other. And how I did that, just hold it between your finger and your thumb. And then I came in from the back and I held it on my other hand and I just pulled this through like so. You're going to be able to slide this around for a little bit until you get it tight. And then I did about 5 wraps with this piece. So just make sure the pieces are flush. You will be able to move this around a tad. So that's 3 wraps. That's 4. We'll do one more with this piece. Okay, so that's 5. And then I took my little pliers and I smished this. Okay, and then I just smacked that again. And then you're going to take your longer piece. You can kind of push this other piece out of the way, and you're going to come through and do 5 more wraps. So and this may take, do this in steps. So maybe one night you want to do the 6 petals, and then maybe the next night you add the 6 other petals. Pace yourself. This is not a one night project. It might be an all day project if you decide to start early, like in the morning or something. And I made that pretty tight, but I think you get the idea. Actually, that's on top of that. So I want it flush. Let me see if I can fix that without undoing all of it. I may have to undo all of it. Fortunately, it's just 10 wraps, so, you know, if you have to readjust what you're doing, yeah, I think I'm going to have to undo that. But I think you get the idea. So let me just quickly unwrap this and then we'll try it again. Now this is all kinked up now, so I'm going to use a new piece because I don't want my wire to snap. I can use this for other projects possibly. So this was on top of the other piece. I want them next to each other, just like, see how they're flush? That's what I want. So it does get a little fiddly. It's just a matter of being a little patient. Yeah, I think even at the start of this wrap, I had them on top of each other. So I keep the mistakes in the video, you know, so I can help you avoid them when you're doing it. I tried this one other time, and I just did a few pieces, so this is my first time doing the whole thing, but I know it'll work. It's just a matter of being patient. Okay. All right. Let's just move that. So I'm going to have to fix my orientation a little bit on the petals. And you will have to do that, you know, as you're working on this. I think I lost some of my marks too. So we're just going to do it over. And again, it's not going to be exact. Just try to get it as centered as you can. And, you know, it's still going to look great, even if it's not, you know, no one's going to be sitting there with a ruler. At least I hope not. I can't create that way. Precision is for scientists and bakers. Got to be pretty precise when you're baking. So, all right. And you will get your hands marked up. That's okay. So make your marks. On your marks, get set, go. All right. So let me just get this started again. I don't mind showing you again. And just worry about one side first, you know. So now see how these are flush? So I want to keep them that way. So again, I'm going to come in through the center. I'm going to hold this with my thumb and my finger. And this time I'm going to try to make sure that I keep them flush. All right, I kind of made that short, but that's okay. Let's push these down. It is flush. That's the way I want it, and we'll just continue with this longer piece. And I think, like I said, about 10 wraps should do it. 10 or 12, depending on, you know, what you want. But like I said, you can kind of move this around a little. Just make sure that your center petals stay centered because they want to move around. Let me slide that down. And just making sure that's going to work on the other side, flush. And another thing you can do is, you know, if you don't want to finish wrapping, like you want to be able to move it around, which isn't a bad idea. See how this slides? So you can get started on the other side, even though you're not finished with this side. You can just move your wire out of the way, and then you can take, oops, I don't have a longer piece. Let me grab another piece real fast. I'm just going to keep hanging on to this. I always get confused as to where the end is. Oh, I see it. So yeah, I'm just going to pull another piece off. And everything looks like it's situated okay. I'm going to get started on this. It looks like that's pretty even. So yeah, you could probably do a few wraps on each side and then you could move it around. That might be the way to go, actually. The first one I did, I didn't do it that way, but I kind of like the idea that you can move it around before you actually get real tight with it and before you've done too many wraps. So try that and see if that works better for you. I'm just going to I'm trying to make sure it's flush too. I don't want to make that boo-boo again. But you know, a lot of this is trial and error. And, you know, as we all know, when you learn something new or you try something new, sometimes you have to make adjustments. Um, and that's fine. That's the whole point, is to learn. You learn by doing, or at least I do. All right, so I like that. Let's see, move this guy. Something got cattywampus here. There we go. It's going to take some finagling. Anyway, I'm going to do the rest of the tertiary petals off camera. I think you get the idea. And once this is made, like, this is the framework for what we're going to be doing with the beads, which I think is going to be pretty fun. And it will involve more wire wrapping, but I think once you get to this point, once you finish this part, the real fun begins. Not that this isn't fun, but it is a little bit time consuming, and you do have to play around with it a little. But as you can see, I can move the pieces and adjust them. As we add beads, though, it should be less fiddly, I guess is the right word. So let me add the rest of the petals, and then I will start showing you what you can do with the beads in the frame. All right, guys. So like I said before, you want to probably do this in steps. Do the 6 and then do the other 6 and wire wrap them. I'm going to pull up my template just for a second so you can see this. Okay. So it's not going to be exact. There are going to be spots that are a little bit narrower. Just do the best you can. It does move around. As you can see, I can move some of these links. But as we add beads, it's going to not move as much. So just be aware of that. I think it looks amazing. I'm really happy that this worked out because I just laid it out on my bead board the other day, thinking about how I was going to make this color wheel, and I think the petal idea is pretty fun. So you have your template if you want to use it. I am going to take this smaller one and use it just as a guide for color, because now we're going to do the really, really fun part. And the really, really fun part is adding the beads. So my recommendation is to add maybe the beads at the bottom first and then work your way out. So if you recall, the primary colors are these inner petals. So I would start with the red, and let me just move this. Here is our beaded palette, okay? And maybe lay out what you're thinking before you actually start wire wrapping. I think maybe start with the bigger beads. So I have this really cute birdie. He would be cute, and maybe we could add a little bead with him. So let's see how that looks wire wrapped. So you are going to still need this 26 gauge wire. And let me just grab a piece. Let me just cut this one. All right. So you're going to anchor your wire just wherever. And again, come from behind and grab a little short piece of it. And you are going to have to work around these pieces, but I think with the smaller piece, it's going to be easier to anchor it. And then with the longer piece, you'll string the beads and anchor on the other side. So let's push this through. If I can get my fingers to work. Okay, so we're just going to wire wrap, and this is going to slide around, and that's fine. Just maneuver it the way you know, any way you can to get the wire through your piece. This might have kind of a stained window effect. That was kind of my idea, or a mandala. I was thinking of a mandala design, which, you know, you don't have to do this layout. If you figure out another layout that you want to try, I encourage you to try it. I mean, the worst thing that can happen is it doesn't work out, but you maybe come up with something really cool besides. That happens to me a lot when sometimes I have a vision of how I want to do something, and as I'm making something, other problems present themselves or challenges, and I edit the design, and that's all part of the design process. So if you try something different, I'm just scutching these a little. Maybe I'll do one more wrap. These quick links, what I like about the oval quick links is that they're very solid, and they're big enough that you can get your wire through them, you know, even when you have them attached to each other, you have room. All right, so I think I've done about 5 wraps. Let me just make this a little neater. Okay. And now we're going to string. So there's many ways you can do this. So if you want to do all one petal, I think you could do that. The reason I'm going to do the insides, I think, is because that way I have more real estate to use wire, and I'm not going to be going over a bunch of other wire. That's kind of my thought there, but give it a try. You know, you have your own way of doing things, and I am not going to tell you otherwise. There's more than one way to do this. I am certain of that. Okay. All right. So we have our first wire attached. So let's add our birdie. Maybe I'll put a little, I think a little bicone might be cute. And here's where I would encourage you to experiment with textures and shapes. and finishes, you know. This is where it's going to look really interesting. So if you can see, I've got a little bit of a space there. So I'm going to add another little bead. Maybe I'll add a cube bead. No, that might be too big. Rondelle might work. And this one's opaque. So I have a little glass birdie and a crystal and a bicone and a little rondelle here. So here's my red petal. So I'm just going to situate this a little. This may sit a little bit on top of my wire, but I'm okay with that. You do what you want to do, though. And now we're going to wrap this on the other side. So it's just a matter of, this is really free form. So, you know, you can lay the beads out. I just dropped a bead, of course. You lay your beads out, and then just go for it. You know, it's freestyle. It's how you want to do it. And I would say 5 wraps at a minimum. You could do more. If you know some fancy wire things, you know, techniques, feel free to use them. All right. So if you have a long enough piece of wire, like I could probably add a few more beads maybe going that way. So I'm just going to leave this wire here. But here's our first petal. So here's, whoops, did it again. I need a different lamp for over here. I keep hitting that power button. So I encourage you to play around with this. So I'm going to do the red, and let's see. So next to it is the secondary color. So here's the primary color. You could actually mark on here if you want to. I think if you just cut this out, which I'll have, you know, in the files on Marcie Creates, if I can figure out how to add the files to my description in YouTube, I will do that, but I have a feeling that's going to be a little challenging. So just join Marcie Creates if you want these templates. Anyway, so there's the red. So our next inner petal is going to be orange. So, oh, I have this really pretty color. So let me just lay some beads out so you can see what this will look like. Because obviously I'm not going to wire all of these on camera. The video would take way too long. So in between red and orange, so that's our primary, that's our secondary, is red orange. And I found these really pretty check hearts. I thought that would be really pretty right there. And then we want to go to let's do some yellow. What do we want to do for yellow? Remember that the inner petals are the secondary and the primary colors. So all we're doing right now is the secondary and the primary colors. I also have this really cool bead. Maybe I'll save that for something else. I'm trying to find some interesting larger beads. I've just kind of thought large beads in the center, you know, in the bottom of the, you know, the inside, and then we could go to smaller beads. So that's green. So we need blue. That's really pretty. So let's lay these out. I found these check little Buddhas in that pretty cornflower color. Oh, that's a tertiary. Never mind. We'll get to that. Let's see. I thought this flower was really pretty, but it's very light. I think I want a darker bead, so maybe we'll do this bead. This is purple. That's the other thing too. Don't be afraid of adding pastel pieces either, because that's just the main color with white. Okay, so now we have red. I did add this tertiary color because I was so excited about that bead, but you just want to do your primary and secondary. So you got red, orange, yellow, green, blue, violet. Now for our tertiary colors, I just want to lay this out so you can see just how pretty this is going to be. There is our, maybe I'd do something a little bit smaller. This little square bead that I used in the simple. That's pretty. And then we want to do, this is going to be yellow green, so that pretty color. And then turquoise. I've been dying to use these carved hearts. I think that's gorgeous. And then here's our little Buddha that I'm so excited about. He's just so cute. And then violet. So as you can see, once you start beading, wire wrapping all these beads, you're going to have a really cool looking um, kind of a flower petal. Oh, that moves a little, so just be aware of that. You can have a little flower petal, if I can speak correctly, mandala type color wheel. And I just thought, what a cool idea. I Googled that. I wanted to see if anybody else had done this, and I could not find anything. I looked down Pinterest. So, but I think this would be neat hanging in your studio. It could be a beautiful sun catcher in your window. There's so much you could do with it. You could just hang it on the wall. I just think it's going to be really pretty and really fun. And then if you wanted to put a bead in the center here, you could do that as well. So I am going to wire wrap all of these, and you've seen the technique. So that's really all it is anchoring to one side, adding your beads, and anchoring to the other side. And, go in different directions, use different finishes and types of beads. I think that is what's going to make it so interesting. Um, play with it. Here's another little birdie. I guess I like these birdies. I got these at Bargain Bead Box. So let me just fill in, just so you could see, just get a visual of what I'm talking about. So, like, you could wire wrap around like that. That might be too big, but different types of beads are going to make it look pretty cool, very different. Oh, and I love these too, these flowers. I don't know if they'll fit. I feel like that's the flower petal. But, whoops, as you're doing this, and I'll stop periodically and show you what I've done uh, on a few of these petals. I just don't want to make the video super long, but I think this is going to be the most fun part of the project, is deciding which beads and adding different shapes, colors, variations of the color. Look at that leaf. Oh, I love that. And if you have one, you don't have to do it this way, but if you have one type of bead that you love, or you want to make it like a flower, all your flower beads, the possibilities are endless. So I encourage you to just, play. Pull out your beads, organize them by the color wheel, and just have fun. Excuse me, I'm losing my voice for some reason. you may have just a few beads of one type of color. I found finding red orange a little bit challenging. I guess it's not a bead I buy very much, but I did find a lot of like fire polish and bicones. Um, yeah, so I'm just going to lay these out so you can see. I may change some things off camera, but I love the difference in, like, some are really sparkly. We've got pearls in here. Um, Even the bicones, I've got some that are, opaque, and then I have some that are shiny. Oh, look what I did. That goes here. Guys. Uh, okay. Red orange. Totally missed red orange. That is crazy. Um, I find carnelian is a good bead to put here. Sorry about that. You're probably so confused. So yeah, I misplaced. This is red orange. This is yellow orange. This is red orange. Jeez. I had trouble finding this color, but um, like a coppery bead might work here. Can't believe I did that. Make sure your stuff's in the right section. Oh, and I'm teaching color theory. But it's easy when you're yapping and videotaping to mess up. I'll just say that in my defense. Uh, so as you can see, this is going to look really cool when you're done. So I'm going to get to wire wrapping, and I will come back periodically so you can see, but I did want to lay these out. Here's a really sparkly one. I love that. I wanted to lay these out so that you had an idea of where I'm going with this, because every one of these is going to be unique. I so hope that you will try this. I know it's a rather ambitious project. The wire wrapping the links takes a minute. I'm not going to lie. So do it in stages. Give yourself time to organize everything. And that's kind of what I did. I went through my stash with the color wheel and I pulled the beads I thought closely resembled those colors. And then, organize them. If you have this palette, which of course I said I'll link. I got it on Amazon. Took about a day or so to get it. The links, the quick links, I have links for those, and yeah, just have fun with it. I'm dying to see what you all come up with. I hope that you will post them over on the Marcie Creates Facebook page. And so let me get wrapping on some of this, and as I'm adding things, I will come back and bring you updates, and so you can see the progression. So I'm excited. I think this is going to look really cool. Okay, so I've been doing quite a bit of wire wrapping, and it's going well so far. I really love the way that this looks. I hope you'll try this. I just wanted to see where you to see where I'm at. I'm not finished, obviously. I still need to fill in spots, and I'll probably just put in smaller beads throughout. I haven't decided if I'm going to put anything in the center yet. If I can find like a really pretty crystal bead, maybe I'll do that. But I think it's turning out really, really nice. And uh, I'm just doing simple wire wrap, stringing the beads, wrapping on the other side, so on and so forth. And I'm really just letting it be freeform. So, like I said before, you could do a pattern if you want. I love the different variety of beads. I think that makes it really fun. And the different finishes, and also, of course, the different sizes and types. So that part of it is super fun it's kind of like a little puzzle, you know, you're just trying to make things fit. And so I'm going to continue, and you'll see the finished piece here momentarily. Well, okay, everybody. So as you can see, I've beaded this most of the way. I may add a few more beads here and there, but I'm pretty happy with this for a first time try even. So, you know, give this a try. I think it's really fun. I don't know what I'm going to do with it yet. I may hang it in my studio. That's probably what's going to happen. Um, I think it'd be pretty though, hanging in the window. It's kind of like stained glass almost. But give this a try. You know, get some quick links and do a little wire wrapping, or do your own, you know, frame. I think this turned out to be a really fun project. Uh, and it's a great way to use up, like I said, extra beads from bead boxes you've gotten. Maybe you just have one thing left in your stash that you don't know what to do with. This is another example of using leftover beads. I hope that you will try this. I think it turned out really nice, and I think it's a fun way to learn the color wheel as you are making this. So uh, give it a whirl. Um, I'm excited to bring you 11 more episodes of Beading with Color Confidence. This is episode 1. Stay tuned for episode 2 next Sunday. And with that, I'm going to tell you to have a great day or evening or morning or wherever it is you're watching this. Please take care of your sweet selves and be safe. And I will see you on the next video.